Okay, so in order for our MIDI devices to get set up correctly, we need to take a visit to our preferences window again. And we're going to click on this Link MIDI button. Now, Link is something else that we'll talk about in the future. Link is like how we can get two versions of Ableton to talk together, or anything else that supports Link to talk together for live performance and recording. It's actually really cool, but that's not what MIDI is. That's separate. So here's my MIDI window. We have kind of two windows here. So what this first one shows me is these are all the control surfaces that I've had connected to my version of Live. I've had a push 2, and this thing called Remote SL Classic. Those are not necessarily keyboards. We call them control surfaces because they've got some other parameters that will let me control Live in other ways. Some dials, some sliders, some things like that. Input, this is showing me which ones of them are on, basically. And they're all grayed out because neither of these three things are connected to my computer right now. Okay, so they're gone. And the output is empty because neither of these accept an input. So output to them from Live is not on. So these are grayed out because they're not connected, and that's okay. So those are my control surfaces. These are my MIDI devices. Okay, so here I'm showing three things turned on. The bottom one is my quartet. Now remember, that's my audio interface. My audio interface also is acting as a MIDI interface, which means if I have one of those 5-pin cables, I can plug it into my audio interface and it'll convert it to a USB signal for me. If I have an older MIDI device that doesn't have a USB option in it. So this is showing up as being able to handle MIDI. I'm not using it at the moment. So I could turn it off, but I'll leave it on for now. The other things I'm seeing here is AIC driver and AIC driver. Now you should see your device here. If you have something plugged in, you should see it. Mine is working a little differently. My MIDI keyboard is wireless and it's not connected at the moment. So I'm going to turn it on and you'll see it pop up. Okay, and there it is. It's called Rise 49, and you can see it's connected by Bluetooth. Now, what's important here is that we see that they're on, okay? And the track is on. That means it can control MIDI stuff. Sync and remote, we don't need on at the moment. These are other layers of things that it could control. So make sure that your device shows up there, and it shows up as track is on. So that's all we need to do for our MIDI setup. Now, another thing you can do is if you're not sure if your MIDI device is on or connected correctly, a quick way to tell is move something on your MIDI device, and you should see a little dot blink up here, the top right corner in a yellow box, like this. Okay, so you see that little dot there? That's coming up when I move anything on my MIDI device. So I'm on my keyboard just smashing my hands around on stuff, and we can see that yellow dot happening. That means that MIDI is getting into Live just fine. Okay, so with that, let's move on and kind of look at our data flow of MIDI so that we understand how it works just a little bit.